Hello, everyone, and welcome to our LinkedIn Live series on the 2020 second half SAP SuccessFactors release. I'm your host, Craig Powers, Managing Editor at Rizing, first of many H2 2020 release discussions over the course of the coming weeks. And I'm very excited to say that today, for the first time in this series, we'll be talking data with the latest in analytics updates. A few housekeeping notes. As a reminder, with so many people working from home, bandwidth might be stretched. If there are issues with the stream, just hold tight and we'll get it back online as fast as possible. So in our analytics chat, we'll be covering all of what you can do in SuccessFactors, not just particular products like people analytics. So grab a drink and I'll let you decide which one, depending on what time zone you are in. And let's get going with our panelists. First today, I'm lucky to have a returning panelist, Carey Ross. She's a senior consultant in AMS. So how are you doing today, Carey?
Ready to talk about some data analytics.
All right, cool. Yeah. So I don't know. I saw you had your dog out earlier. Will your dog be discussing analytics, or is it just going to be you?
Well, she usually likes to, and I can definitely get her for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone
Sometimes she
loves dogs.
helps me with things. So yeah.
Yeah. Excellent.
Let's see here. She's over here looking out the window.
There she is.
That's Lucy.
Yeah,
She'll just stare right there.
Our clicks just jumped up, I think, by about 40 or 50 people.
There we go. Yeah.
Great. So along with Carey and her dog, let me introduce Dan Gradows, our principal consultant in data science. Really cool. We have data science people at Rizing. Dan, welcome. Your first time on the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, and thanks for having me. Looking really excited to see what the dog has to say about data and analytics.
Great, and I'm loving your choice of background art there. It's very floral and very happy, ready to let us get going and talking about analytics.
Absolutely. It was hand painted back when I was 4 or 5 years old.
Excellent.
So I've carried it around for years.
It's great.
Talent from the get-go.
And Craig, it's good to see that you were finally able to get a haircut.
Yeah, I did a few months ago.
From our first half, yeah.
Growing out. I'm still waiting to get that next one. But yeah, so I'm actually just going to turn it over to you, Carey and Dan, and then I'll check back in later with questions.
So that sounds great. All right. Well, Dan, new release here with some new fun stuff for overall analytics, not just the new people analytics or any of that. Just kind of across the board, a little bit of updates here for just Report Center in general, some table stuff, the old ad hoc type reports. I was surprised at how many new things were there for ad hoc or table reports this time. Some really good haves there. And then, of course, our people analytics, fun new topic to start talking about. Overall, I mean, just kind of some changes in the overall Report Center. I think some good things that are there, like the change in the names of the report types. Going instead of report canvas, report table, report story, kind of takes up a lot of room. And if you have a title of a report that's a long title, kind of things get cluttered within some of that space. So I think it's kind of nice. They're kind of just taking that down, simple, making it a little bit more simple, just canvas, table, story. So just kind of clean up some of that interface.
Yeah, I think over the years, SuccessFactors has made an effort to bring a little bit better of end user experience. Certainly, I've always felt like report canvas, report table, that report was a little bit redundant considering we were in Report Center. So
right.
We like to use, but if you recall years ago, there was an analytics tab and then there was another analytics tab. So,
right.
It's exciting to see them clear it up a little bit. And I think it helps, at least from our perspective. And I think even in the change management area, to be able to clearly identify what we're talking about and and the least amount of language possible.
Yeah, and just overall, the report center, this year, really, a lot of people had to be pushed to that. There's a lot of people that have been using it for years, but like you said, having the analytics tab, and then an analytics and a reports and a dashboards and so many different places to go. It's kind of nice just having the one place. And I know there's a lot of clients that just got upgraded to the new report center. Brings me to a thought that I've had a couple people ask. They think, oh no, I got upgraded to this new report center and all my reports are gone. And it's not true that the reports are gone. What it simply is in the old way with ORD, or Online Reports Designer, when now it's a Canvas report, they were building queries but never actually added them to a report. And so now you have to go in and take those queries and add them into a report page in order to see them. So if there's anybody out there that suddenly sees that or hasn't been quite upgraded yet, don't panic. Let us know. We can quickly show you where you can find those.
Yeah, and I think what I found lately in the power and streamlining the labeling a little bit comes on the end user experience, especially in the admin section where, now we've got those private labels, right? We can organize it how we want to organize it. The old ORD system had just a folder taxonomy where anybody and everybody could do it. So you had to really have a more global approach to organizing your reports. And now, we can name them however it makes sense to us to name them inside the labels.
Right. Labels came out last. It was in first half, and were great to have there. And I've seen a lot of clients start to use those. And it definitely helps when you have hundreds of reports in your list there to try to find what you need. Just kind of group them the same way you put things in your File Explorer. For sure. Let's talk a little bit about table reports, or as a lot of people know them previously as ad hoc reports. We have a few new things in there. When you go to run a report and you do it offline and it goes into your My Jobs area, previously you might have a situation where something gets kind of stuck in progress and you just have to wait for it. Or if you're like me, I push to run it and I don't realize that I didn't add a filter, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I've got to go back. And now I've got to wait for that first instance to run. There's now a way to cancel those in-progress jobs within your My Jobs area. I think that's a huge addition that would have been nice a long time ago. Certainly,
especially with the larger reports, and even if you dove into the custom reporting coming out of ad hoc too, if you've going in there testing those reports and realizing maybe the logic's not quite as solid as you thought it would be, and it's going to take 8 years to run, canceling that sure saves you a lot of time.
Right. Be able to just cancel that and then restart, go back and make your updates and start it. So made it really simple there, and just the actions area where you normally go in to download, you can also now cancel, which I think that'll be a big help to people. A couple other little things, I say little, but really they're big help, is in table reports with a date filter. And previously, when you had that drop down, have to select the date, the month, the day, the year, even the time in there, and didn't quite align with some of the other areas in the system where, if you're like me, I just want to type the date in there quickly that I want to do. And now we can.
Certainly, absolutely. Nothing like saving a little bit of time. It all comes down to click time, right? All of us are super busy these days, and the more time you spend just simply finding a date, and even when we're thinking about, a higher date, not so much, but talk about date of birth. How many different, years, if we've still got any silents that are in the workforce. I think they would be 80 or 90 years old now, but certainly those dates go way back. And it's certainly adding that, that could be, in a big company, that could be a lot of work just to add a date. And now we don't have it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, so that'll be that's a great thing, and a lot of the people that I've talked to coming up to this release, a lot of the customers that I've talked to are excited about that. They see it and they're like, "Wow, I am so glad that that's there." Another one that's really good in the table reports, but not only table reports, but also with a candidate report if you're using reporting. There are some RBP data sets in there that you can run reports on different types of RBP to user, RBP to group, and things like that. And there's now an option that was definitely lacking in the RBP user to group data set, where you had a user there, but you didn't know if they were active or inactive. And in an RBP group, you identify somebody directly by their user ID, their username, and they're not going to be removed from the group automatically if they become inactive. And so you couldn't tell. So there's a new status column within that will really make a huge difference for being able to clean up groups.
Absolutely. And look, as we dive more and more into data and being data centric as an organizations, we're also facing the other part of that, which is the auditing aspect of it. And certainly the time that we save there, or the time that our IT folks that are saving, being able to get to the data quickly, know what needs to be changed more efficiently than just simply having to do some outside Excel lookup tables, and that whole process saves them a lot of time and gives us a better, more consistent and secure environment too.
Right. Lots of stuff there to look through. So, even now with that status field, somebody could create a report and schedule it to just email to them on a monthly basis that just simply is filtered to inactive users in the groups, and just have that be, a beginning of the month process that they just get this email and go in and quickly remove them from the groups. And I think that could eventually be a very quick task to be able to keep clean.
Yep, absolutely.
Over the last releases, probably since last Q3, maybe last year, 2019, there's been different guardrails applied also for table reports, kind of helping with system performance, keeping things just so that we're not trying to run some huge report that's just going to take up too much there. And these guardrails have been great because it really makes you think a little bit more. Do I really need that large report, or can I filter it down? And with that, there's just another one this time with multi-domain reports that do not have a BERT template. So if you do have any multi-domain report BERT template, you're okay here. But if you have just a regular multi-domain report, that'll now have a guardrail limited to 100 million cells. Well, that's pretty big. I don't think that too many people should have that bad of a problem with that, but there'll just simply be a warning message to let you know, hey, this is above that, and go ahead and apply new filters or do something a little bit different to lower the count.
Yeah, certainly the old way of working with this system is, hey, give me all the data that's in the system, and let me go in my Excel, or maybe I've got Power BI or something outside the system, and let me aggregate in a particular way. And it's moving more towards, hey, let's keep those reports inside the system. Let's leverage our role-based security, and we'll be more efficient about how we're doing our reports. And this is just another step in that direction.
Absolutely. Some people analytics. I'm sure a lot of people are on here wondering more about people analytics. What is it? How do we get it? There are some updates with people analytics also this time. Well, not everybody has enabled it yet. There are some new updates on how some of the things work. In my opinion, some of it's kind of simple updates, but yet very, very important. Things like being able to add a story report to your favorites in the report tile on the homepage. That just wasn't there in the initial release. Being able to copy and paste filter values. So some things that you would have thought was there originally, but you can't have everything right at first. So there's some great additions there. Or saving your query during the query design so that you can stop and come back to it later. That's huge. I don't always want to sit down and I don't have time always to create a full query at once. You need to be able to stop, come back to it at your leisure. And so that's a pretty big deal there too.
Yeah, I think it's kind of building off of our tiles and dashboards that came, oh man, I don't know how many years ago it's been now, but it's been quite some time. But I mean, yeah, being able to save all the work that you do. And I think it also is talking about adding consistency to it too. I'm looking at the same report with the same filters each and every time. I don't have to worry about what I did last time or slightly different. And, you know, once again, it kind of goes back to keeping things in the system. When we think about Excel reports, they're great. And certainly Excel is a very powerful tool in and of itself. But when we go to a boardroom, we want to make sure that we're all looking at the same report and it's not 5 different Excel reports. I think this is just, once again, another step in that efficiency process.
Right, definitely. Another big thing with people analytics or the report stories this time is with the production release. You haven't seen this in preview yet, but there's going to be a store for templates of reports, some story report templates. I think that's huge. With trying to use a new tool, how do I do it? Where do I want to start? Let's go pull a report. You know, right now with EC standard reports, you have to go out to help.sap.com, which is great that you can go out and find that stuff there. But now there'll just be a store that you can click on, go to download it, similar to, you brought up dashboards, you know, and the tiles, similar to how we could with the Success Store and downloading some of those standard tiles. Now, just like the EC standard reports, it might not work for everybody right off the bat, because if you're not using all the same fields, because obviously there has to be kind of a standard, if you're not using all of those fields, you might have to make some little tweaks to it. But I think that is just great with that in the production release. So it'll be there as weekend in production for some of those.
Yeah, I mean, once again, let's go back to what do our clients ask for most of the time when they're up in the module they've not had before, or maybe they're even new into the role. Hey, where do I start? You know, and that's such a vague and very wide-ranging question that could have multiple answers. And certainly, I think, at least for me, even in the tiles area, being able to say, okay, well, here we go. This is where, you know, SuccessFactors has done their research and they've seen, you know, this is what we've produced for our clients on a consistent basis. Now it's a template. Now you have a place to start. The EC standard reports the same way. We have a place to start. You can go in and tweak to your environment, but you're not just staring at a blank page and having that writer's block.
Exactly. I think it'll also help with just learning the tool, because you'll see how the tables are and how they're joined and the different types of views and things you can get. And it'll just be really helpful to learn a new tool.
Right.
But
and keep in mind, we're always trying to, we're trying to focus so that your dog, see, what we want you to do is we want you to be able to sit Mai Tais by the pool and have the dog do the work at the computer. So that's what SuccessFactors is doing. It's focusing in on the pets doing the work for us. It's a whole new movement. It's just starting ground floor. That's where we're headed.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll share. I want to share something here real quick. If I'm doing the right one. Here we go. I believe I'm sharing my screen here. Here, see, she does help me with work. I've got her learning and checking emails on the phone for me and responded to some. So that works. But as far as people analytics go, let's think about this. You know, people analytics isn't something that just today we're going to say, turn this on. There's some prerequisites to it. And what is that? IAS, Identity Authentication Service. Everybody sees that and they think, whoa, what do I have to do? Well, there has to be a way for us to get that data over there. So I thought this was kind of a good little cartoon. It's not going to be as simple as tying something to a balloon and loading it. That, think of the balloons as that's what the IAS is. It's going to get that there. And then here's another one with a slingshot. I don't think that's how it's done, but we'd like to think that it was that easy. I don't think it's going to quite be there. That's all I have for fun little jokes, but let's talk a little bit about IAS. Dan, you and I have had conversations about this before, and there's so much documentation out there on how to get this stuff enabled. So this is a prerequisite for people analytics. And other things, not just for people analytics. It's a prerequisite for internal career site builder. It's eventually going to be a prerequisite for external learners for the learning management system. And I just anticipate a lot more coming down at some point. It's overwhelming, it's intimidating, but you just have to be patient with it. So you just can't expect, hey, I'm going to turn this on today.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of along the play of, we want to not have 50,000 different environments that we have to leverage in order to get to our data. I think we want to be able to say, this is our authentication service, and for a variety of products, and we're going to leverage that. And I think anytime you see, especially when you're dealing with security, initially, it can be slightly scary. But I mean, I think with patience and some effort here, we're really going to be able to leverage the power of all of the tools and be successful there. So I think it's just a little bit of patience and belief in SuccessFactors, and it'll turn out in the end.
Absolutely. There's a quick guide. There's a KBA quick guide out there for how to enable people analytics. It's got tons of information. There's just so much. The part that's overwhelming is you can start clicking on one thing and click on another and another, and then you're like, wait, which page did I see this on? You just kind of have to, like you said, be patient with it. Just be able to slowly go through all of the documentation to get there. There's an initial upgrade in the upgrade center. Everything technically can be done by the client without our involvement. Right. That upgrade center, there's an initial upgrade to run first, and then some setup with IAS and IPS, Identity Provisioning Service. It's definitely different for a client that's using SSO and somebody who's not. If they're not using it and you're using just password-based logins, not quite as much work to set up. But the important thing is if you are using it, you have to keep in mind that it will change your SSO. You have to reset that up because it no longer then is managed through the regular provisioning that we're used to today, where only we have access to that. But now you're moving the configuration of your SSO into IAS to kind of act as that proxy between.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a little bit of a process. And I think that's why it's nice to have an organization like Rizing, who's already kicked the tires, already run into some of the hurdles that need to be contemplated and can execute in a little bit more efficient manner than simply just looking at it and going from step one. Right.
And actually, we do have a question that came in asking, has Rizing helped customers go live with people analytics, including implementing IAS? And we can say yes, we have. In my experience, it seems like every customer has been just a little bit different in parts that needs to be done. Like I said, it depends on if you have SSO or not. It's possible that when you go to run the upgrade for IAS, you already have an IAS tenant, which kind of makes things run a little bit differently. So there is, yes, we have assisted with that and would be happy to help anyone even to just have an initial conversation of what do I need to do next? What do I need to think about? I think that the customers that I've talked to, it sounds like a lot of people are planning on having these discussions in Q1 2021, just to kind of get moving forward on that. A big question I always have is why? Why do we need IAS? Well, kind of like the cartoon there, I mean, there has to be something that's getting that data over there. There has to be something that's kind of joining that, because People Analytics lives in the SAP Analytics Cloud, which is separate from SuccessFactors. We've experienced this with other modules before as well. If you use the learning management system, that's technically a different database. If you used ORD, that was technically a different database. The difference is we used provisioning through the back end to connect those, and you never really realized that. I had somebody ask me, well, why can't it be the same? Why can't you just do it on that end? And unfortunately, we can't, but also fortunately, it really ultimately will put it in your hands to make it a little bit easier for you to manage. And if you have a change in your SSO certificate, you're not going to have to come to us, because you're going to have control of that. And to be able to just do whatever you need to do within there. And opens the doors for any other kind of integrations that might come, who knows, with other SAP products in the future. This broadens that and gives us that ability.
Sure. Even in the People Analytics, if we take IAS out of maybe some of the other tools that SuccessFactors has, the IAS is definitely going to allow us access to the People Analytics, and even further beyond that. And I think it's down definitely in the future, is combining some of the other reporting tools that we want, such as finance and asset management and stuff like that. We're going to all need, the same security and to know that it's secure. And I think if we get out there and do it now, then it's going to be that much easier when those next steps happen.
Yeah, definitely. I think another big question that I get is, do I have to do this? Is it going to be forced on me? It's not right now. Right now, we don't know at what point it could be, like anything else. But I will say, in my opinion, I would say get it done sooner rather than later, because it's just going to open up more things. Yes, you have a report canvas right now that you can run, or I should just say a canvas that you can run and build. But think about this. Right now with Canvas report, you log into that. And if you have Employee Central, you have your detailed reporting and you have your advanced reporting. Detailed reporting is where you go, you can get some EC data and you can get your talent data. Well, the advanced queries are going to give you just your EC data. Now with People Analytics, you'll be able to join your more EC data with talent data. And that's going to be huge. So why wait to get better use of your data? Really more of a story of your whole data. That's why they're calling it a story type report. But I think that's a big thing to think about. But like I said, you can't just flip it on. So get a plan and think through where you're going to put that into your plan, especially if you use single sign-on, because obviously that is more to think about there.
Yeah, and look, I mean, people are focused on the future, right? We don't always want to live in the past and what we have. We do love our old tools, but who doesn't like to get the new iPhone with the latest camera and that kind of thing? And that's where we're at here. When we think about WFA, or the Workforce Analytics tool, our customers are looking for dashboards. They're not just simply looking for a report on recruiting or on headcount. They want to know, how does that relate to some of the other metadata that is out there, especially getting deeper dive into the EC data as it compares to recruiting, which is a big problem right now. We don't have those links that we need, and so yes, it can be a bit scary. It's a newer tool, but people are going to love the new access that we're going to have. And really, when we come down to it, we're trying to answer some of the organizational goals, the strategic goals. And the more data that we have at our disposal, and the more we can aggregate that data and tell our story, as you pointed out, the better off we're going to be. And especially in an HR situation where we want the seat at the table, we want to help make these decisions and ultimately be a part of the success the overall organization has.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think overall, I'm excited about some of these new things with this release. In the past, sometimes there are less reporting related updates in some of these releases. I think we'll see that there's more coming up now that we're on a half a year release rather than quarterly. But and especially with people analytics, I think that moving forward, we're going to see lots of enhancements there. But overall, I think that this is a great release around even table reports. A legacy tool that we've been using for years, having a few new things there and available for us.
Absolutely. Was there? I seem to recall in the second half release there was also a WFA tweak specific to the WFA HANA builds that's so near and dear to my heart, as you know. That is
definitely.
Yeah. So and certainly as it created a better family life here for me, because the old method was having to take down the system each time we had to do a data model rebuild. And now SuccessFactors come out and said, okay, well, you can do the data model rebuild during the day if it fails. Not that I ever have any that fail, but if it fails,
No.
the people, the organization can still use the product itself. It just keeps the old configuration until the new one works. So for me, it's great because I don't have to stay up late at night and do that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Looks like we have a question of, have we heard anything regarding SAP roadmap for people analytics?
Yeah,
advanced edition, or basically the future of WFA. I don't think there's been much announced about that at this point. There's still quite a bit of, I think, question with some of that, given the fact that right now we have some people on traditional WFA. We need to have a clear migration path for some of that, and then which is the SQL-based WFA, and then also then some on the WFA on SAP HANA, which what you were just talking about with the new builds. So no, we don't have a lot of information about the future of that just yet.
Yeah, the last when I met with the product team was, it's about creating an integrated solution with larger products than just the HR stuff, just the SuccessFactors stuff. So I think they've really gone back and gone, okay, we want this integrated, we want to include it with other data. How are we going to do that? And I think it's absolutely brilliant move that they took a step back and went, okay, what are we really doing here, and what is going to be the most power for our clients, and really give that to them instead of coming out with a product where we've now got to do some serious upgrades later on. I'm not a heavy IT guy, but I would imagine that turning around an analytics product is not a small effort. So the more they can release and really hit the market with a big bang that's really going to help our clients, I think that's the road they're taking. And unfortunately, we all want data sooner. I mean, we all love it. There's definitely flavor for it and desire for it. And I think we're going to be really impressed when it does come out. And it's a teaser. So let's beef up on people analytics, the embedded edition, and by the time the advanced hits the market, we're old pros at working within the system, and it's just going to be that much faster uptime.
Absolutely.
Great. I had one more question for you two. I think it should be a quick one. Is the entry level for People Analytics data, is the entry level stored on SAP Analytics Cloud? So is it for data that is stored on Analytics Cloud? Do you have to have that for People Analytics?
So
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, my current understanding in the framework behind it is a version of the SAP Analytics Cloud. It's not necessarily that the big power piece that we see from SAP Analytics Cloud, but it is kind of its own section. And really, in my view, it's because, hey, look, we've got some heavy security in HR data. It's not just like finance data where you can see a tractor or you can't see a tractor. We're talking about people's livelihood, their sensitive information, everything like that. So it's a process, and I think that's why they've carved it out separate to the Analytics Cloud. But I also think that's because they're putting it in that SAC, they're going to at some point bring in all this other information, and it's just a little bit of a waiting time there.
Yeah, same. That's how I've understood it. Is that the Analytics Cloud is the framework for it. It's using the same sort of base, but it's a different product within SuccessFactors. You're not buying SAP Analytics Cloud and then connecting it to SuccessFactors. Your People Analytics is different things. Mm-hmm. Great. Well, that was very informative. That was fun. This is obviously, I said, this is the first time we've talked just reporting and analytics. So I love how you guys went down through all the different areas, not just People Analytics, but everything else that you can do. Dan and Carey, I appreciate it again. And I hope we can have Carey, your dog, back at some point to hear her thoughts as well.
I can see if maybe she can join me Wednesday for learning, but she rudely already left the office for the day and won't even say goodbye. So
great. Do you mind if I throw one more question at you, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely.
I got another late one. Is Steve, who asked the other questions, was actually wondering, is if the data in SAC is not actually, he asked the question wondering if that data in SAC is not actually live data. Do you know how frequently the SAC data is updated?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know what the parameters there are in terms of the updating of the material. So live is such a tricky word too. I believe that it is as close to live as ORD is. At least the embedded edition, and then we'll have to wait and see what any of the others are at this point. Right now, WFA, and not that we're talking WFA HANA, but WFA HANA updates every half hour. So I don't think you're going to see any, by the time you make a change in recruiting and then flip over to a recruiting report, it's going to be there.
Great. I appreciate it. And I know we got another question, but we're kind of running out of time here. So we can definitely have Diana, I see you have a question. So we can have people get to you offline with that, because I think that particular question is a little more nuanced than we can get into right now. Again, thank you, Dan and Carey. Dan, I hope you had fun. I know this was your first time. I hope you had a great time. Come back. Great.
Yeah, it's a good time.
And Carey, again, as always, with the added features, the visual aids, most excellent.
Absolutely. Needed to have something fun in there.
Great. And well, that's all we have for you today on analytics. Let me remind you that we'll be back tomorrow with onboarding, which is primarily onboarding 2.0 at this point, which is just called onboarding now. And then we'll have learning on Wednesday, and then we'll run through all the other modules, 2 or 3 times a week in the coming weeks. So you'll have plenty. It'll always be at this 5 p.m. Eastern time in the U.S. time. And then, of course, you'll be able to catch these recorded on our LinkedIn page after as well. So you can also, for more analysis, you can check out the Rizing blog. We have tons of analysis on all sorts of modules on there from our team, and again, we'll be back more later this week. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.